Hello and welcome to the news on the hour, the major stories. Former primate of the Church of Nigeria Anglican Communion, the Most Reverend Dr. Nicholas Okoh, expresses worry over Nigeria, asks Nigerians to pray for God to lead the nation aright. Archbishop Benjamin Kwashi of the Anglican Diocese of Jos holds breakfast fellowship with his team of pastors. Anglican Diocese of Ogbaru holds second session of the 6th Synod with a charge on Christians to possess the gate of their enemies. And now the news in details. The former primate of the Church of Nigeria Anglican Communion, His Grace the Most Reverend Dr. Nicholas Okoh, has asked Nigerians to pray to God to lead Nigeria right in the journey that is before them, knowing well that they are part and parcel of the country, Nigeria. Archbishop Nicholas Okoh made this demand while feeding questions from journalists in Abuja as he prays for peace and security.
As it affects whatever is coming ahead, we have no choice but to pray to God to lead Nigeria aright. To lead Nigeria aright. We have no place other than Nigeria, and so whatever is happening, we are part and parcel of it. We can only pray that God will give Nigeria peace, that God will give Nigeria security, that God will give Nigeria forward movement in the positive way. One observes that after the elections, there is a resurgence of killings and so forth. So we don't know why this is so. So we are praying that it is not a signal about what is coming. If that is so, we wish not. We pray that something better than what we've had.
The Lord Bishop of the Anglican Diocese of Jos, the Most Reverend Benjamin Kwashi, has met with his team of pastors in their quarterly clergy breakfast fellowship. This family meeting between the Archbishop and the clergy of his diocese took place at the Archbishop's residence, known as Gideon Kauna. The Epistle of Paul to Titus was the book of study. From the scripture, the men of God had communion. They encouraged and sharpened themselves for their ministry of feeding the flock. The bishop urged his clerics never to forget that they have been called to be servants of God and apostles of Christ for the sake of the faith of God's elect. The clergy breakfast meeting is a quarterly interface between the bishop and his pastors, where they meet over meals to study the Bible in a more relaxed setting. The Diocese of Ogbaru Anglican Communion under the Ecclesiastical Province of the Niger has held its second session of the 6th Synod with the theme, Possessing the Gate of Your Enemies, taken from Genesis 24 verse 60, as it was attended by archbishops and bishops in the province. In his presidential address, Bishop of the Diocese of Ogbaru, who is the president of the Synod, the Right Reverend Prosper Armour, said the country and the world at large is being confronted with different forms of challenges, thereby urging individuals and the church to rise up and take over and control every place of influence, saying God has bestowed his children with power.
We must willingly relinquish our lives individually to Jesus Christ before one can comfortably and conveniently appropriate and exercise his authority. The blessing God bestowed on Abraham's seed has divine power to take over and control every place of influence, dominion, and decision-making of their enemies. The church and her members must rise up and occupy seats of power and influence in their areas.
Meanwhile, the Archbishop, Ecclesiastical Province of the Niger, His Grace, the Most Reverend Dr. Alexander Ibezim, in his remark, congratulated the diocese and the bishop for the work of evangelism, praying for strength to possess more land for the Lord, as the synod had various presentations from the Mothers Union, Girls Guild, and some schools in the diocese. The current Bishop of Ashanti Mapong and Primate of the Church of the Province of West Africa, a province of the Anglican Communion, the Most Reverend Dr. Cyril Kobina Ben Smith, said transformation is needed in these challenging times where sin and other vices has taken over the world. He made this known in an interview with Caroline Achumbe in Abuja.
The challenges of the time are immense, and so we need transformation. We need transformation starting from personal, transformation from the church, because the majority of people in our countries are either Christians or Muslims, and so we need the agenda, the transformation agenda, to be reflected in the daily lives of our members, Christians, and even Muslims, and all, that God's favor will continue to be manifest more and more abundantly.
Meanwhile, an Anglican priest with the Diocese of Agwata in Anambra State, the Venerable Decency Chine, has enjoyed Christians to produce godly offspring for God as members of the Kingdom family. While speaking to the SNN News crew recently in Agwata, the Venerable Chine explained that God's intention for instituting families is to produce godly offspring.
The family is being initiated by God in the Garden of Eden when he said it is not good for the man to be alone, that he will make a help meet for him. And by so doing, the essence of that procreation came into manifestation. Because without a man and a woman, there will be no offspring. But when the man and the woman comes together, they will produce godly offspring. And because God is interested in procreation, he said unto Adam, go into the world, dominate, take dominion, increase, multiply, and take dominion over the earth. And because of that authority, God released unto man. That is why we have so many population, races, tongues, and tribes in the world today. Those who believe in God and those who don't believe in God. But we believe that even when they don't believe in God, they still know that something, a supernatural being, is involved in their existence. And Jesus said, there are other flocks outside the kingdom that my Father will bring back into the household of faith. So we are trusting God that as we preach the good news, as we take the mandate Jesus has given unto us in Matthew chapter 28 from verse 18 to end, that all power, all authority has been given unto us to go into the world and preach the good news. By so doing, we increase godly offsprings. And this Christianity should come from the family, because every individual comes from a family.
And so, viewers, you are still watching the news on the hour. Still to come, humanitarian group sends Bibles to country ranked world's worst persecutor of Christians. This story and others will come your way after the short break. Kindly stay tuned.
Hello viewers, welcome to this week's episode on Health Watch on Advent Cable Network Nigeria. I am Angela Emeka Ebibo.
What we need as humans is to have a good spiritual life. It's more important than having an abundance of possessions without a healthy spirit.
We have issues that relate to sexual affairs. There is something called consent. If a person says no, that means she or he hasn't given their consent.
My mother delivered children on her own. A baby that is too big, how do you want it to come out without having issues?
Your faith does not negate you going for a medical check or engaging in a medical therapy. It doesn't.
The patient has his own rights, and this right has to do with the right patient, the right drug, the right dose, the right duration. You understand? Even the right time in how it is given.
My people, whatever charm or amulet you are carrying right now, and some of you have it in church, and I do not say that you have it, but there's some carry it into church. Some already have it inside their skin. From today, if you believe the power of resurrection, throw it away. Throw it away. Because the real thing is Jesus. If the Lord cannot save you, no man can save you. The Hebrew boys, they told Nebuchadnezzar, they said, oh Nebuchadnezzar, you know it now. We are ready to die. Even if he will not save us, we know whom we believe. Believe this Jesus. Look at him and believe him. He has the power to help. Your time is in the hands of God. You are not late, my sister. Don't cheapen yourself. It is not too late for God to transform your life. I prophesy upon your life this day. The power of resurrection will speak for you. Amen.
Thank you for staying tuned. If you are just joining us, you are watching the news on the hour. For more on our top stories, please visit our website at acnntv.com or our social media platforms on facebook.com or youtube.com/ACNNTV. To be up to date with our news and other programs, download the Avo TV app from Google Play Store, and you can also advertise your goods and services on ACNN TV. Moving on. Moving on, the president of the Church of Christ in Nations, Cocaine, Reverend Dr. Amos Mozo, has called on the Nigerian government to take decisive action to end the resurgent attacks, killings, and to bring the perpetrators to justice. He made a call at the Cocaine Headquarters Church in Jos Plateau State while presenting a speech at the official opening of the church 103rd General Council meeting. According to him, the way forward is for the government to take decisive action to end these attacks and bring perpetrators to justice. He also called on Christian communities to wake up in self-defense within the ambit of the law and to be vigilant of these unscrupulous elements. Reverend Dr. Mozo also appealed to the council to resolve to set apart 3 days for fasting and prayers throughout the denomination against the incessant killings and destruction of properties in the North and Plateau State in particular by suspected Fulani herdsmen. The governor of Plateau State, who was represented by his deputy, Professor Sonny Theoden, in his goodwill message, appreciated the church for being vocal on national and global issues, adding that the church is the conscience of the nation. He advised the church to be proactive on issues rather than being reactive on political issues. He said that currently, structures are being set up by the incoming government and asked the church to be involved. Meanwhile, former presidents of Cocaine have charged the present leaders to be spiritually responsible because they will be accountable to God. They made this known at the Cocaine Headquarters Church in Jos while delivering their goodwill messages at the opening ceremony of the church 103rd General Church Council meeting. The immediate past president, Reverend Professor Dacholam Datire, in his goodwill message, told the church leaders to shun tribal and sectional sentiment because it does not bring progress. According to him, any work of God done with sentiment is not acceptable because it does not glorify God. His predecessor, Reverend Professor Soja Bewarang, in his own speech said, any leader with a dead conscience will not make any meaningful progress in life. He further charged them not to be lukewarm in discharging their responsibilities, but should make deliberate efforts to justify their being called into ministry. He acknowledged that Nigeria is truly sick and there is need for restoration. He concluded by saying that God alone can heal our land, but that will only happen if we walk in obedience to his word. On the foreign scene, the Archbishop of Canterbury, the Most Reverend Justin Welby, has defended his outspoken criticism of the government's illegal migration bill. Archbishop Justin Welby and bishops sitting in the House of Lords have strongly criticized the bill, which proposes sending failed asylum seekers to countries like Rwanda. Writing through an online media, the Archbishop said that bishops would continue to speak up. The Archbishop agreed that illegal crossings across the English Channel must be stopped and said that there should be limits on the number of migrants accepted into the country. However, he argued that the bill in its current form will do little to resolve the existing problems and will intensify others, all while causing serious sufferings to the most vulnerable. Welby said that anyone attempting to cast opponents of the bill as indifferent to the reality of the challenges is not engaging with this debate in good faith. Meanwhile, a faith-based humanitarian organization is working to nourish the body and soul of persecuted North Koreans by sending food supplies and Bibles into the country, where believers and their relatives are frequently sent to labor camps under the brutal regime of Kim Jong-un. The humanitarian organization known as World Help has focused its effort on delivering Bibles to countries like China and Russia since its establishment in 1991, around the time of the Soviet Union's fall. Since 2006, World Help has worked with partners to deliver Bibles to North Koreans, an act that President Noah Brewer described as the heartbeat of the organization in an interview with the Christian Post. According to reports by watchdog group known as Open Doors, who monitors the persecution of Christians worldwide, they characterize North Korea as a brutally hostile place for Christians to live. The watchdog organization cited a 2022 report by the International Bar Association and the Committee for Human Rights in North Korea, documenting how Christians are often detained for long periods and tortured. Open Doors also noted that even owning a Bible in North Korea is considered a serious crime. And so, viewers, you are still watching the news on the hour. To end the news, here's a recap of the major stories. Former Primate of the Church of Nigeria Anglican Communion, the Most Reverend Dr. Nicholas Oko, expresses worry over Nigeria, asks Nigerians to pray for God to lead the nation aright. Archbishop Benjamin Kwashi of the Anglican Diocese of Jos holds breakfast fellowship with his team of pastors. Plus, Anglican Diocese of Ogbaru holds second session of the 6th Synod with a charge on Christians to possess the gate of their enemies. And so with that, we draw the curtain for this edition of the News on the Hour. We want to thank you so much for watching. I am Phoebe Agirenhio. Do have for yourselves a lovely day and a lovely weekend. God bless you.